everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alexa and today I want to talk about HIKIKOMORI. HIKIKOMORI is a terminology that refers to a certain phenomenon. Those people who decided to withdraw themselves from the normal social path and isolate themselves in their own homes. Tamaki Saito was the first psychiatrist to coin this term in 1990s because he wanted to give an explanation of what was going on in the society and also to explain some really violent incidents that happened and that were involving some loners. The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the Japanese ministry, defined hikikomori as someone who voluntarily decide to isolate themselves from the society for more than 6 consecutive months. Those people, of course, tend to not go to work or to school, and they are unable to interact with someone outside their own families. Now, I want to clarify something. Hikikomori might seem someone who doesn't want to go to school or to work and decide to stay home and be maintained. But that's not the case always with hikikomori. Hikikomori is way much complex than this. It can be someone who suffered from bullying in schools or at the previous workplace and they are now traumatized to go back into society. They can be people who suffer from social anxiety or have experienced some other forms of trauma and can't stay outside their apartments physically and mentally. They can be victims of karo utsubyo, which is the depression from overwork. There are a lot of reasons. Because there are so many reasons and they are so personal, hikikomori can be classified specifically. But what can be classified is that is someone who lives in their homes, sometimes maintained by the parents or the families. Sometimes they have remote jobs or receive some sort of pension from the country. What is clear is that they never leave their own apartments. They are uneasy to do that. In Japan, when people talk about hikikomori, sometimes they also mention nito. Nito and hikikomori are two different things. First of all, hikikomori is someone who is unable mentally and physically to leave their own apartment and houses and choose to do so, but they still work and function as human beings. It's just harder for them to be in the society. Nito, meanwhile, is someone who has no interest to seek jobs or to go on with the studies. So it's more like a time waste person, while hikikomori has like a mental problem, a psychological problem. So the two terms can be often used together or people can misinterpret them, but they are basically different. Because hikikomori might want to go back to school or might want to leave, but they are afraid of, they are scared of, and sometimes, yes, they don't want to. But we can't say that hikikomori and nito are the same, because they are not. In Japan, people tend to misinterpret the term hikikomori and associate them with the loners and also with recluses. But also within recluses and loners, there is some differences. By dictionary, we have some really important distinctions. A recluse is a person who lives in voluntary seclusion from the public and the society. The word comes from the Latin recludere, which means shut up or sequester. Historically, word referred to a heremit, total isolation from the world. While a loner is a person who avoids or does not actively seek human interaction. So basically, again, two really similar words but different. In 2000, there was a case, a notorious case of a loner who was arrested because he kidnapped a girl, a 9-year-old girl, and kept her in his room for 9 years. 4 months later, after this huge news, a 16-year-old stabbed to death a person and hurt other two with a kitchen knife on a bus. Of course, since hikikomori is so complex to explain, also sociopaths and psychopaths might be part of them. But not all the hikikomori are sociopaths and psychopaths. The distinction within sociopath and psychopath is also interesting. Briefly saying, a psychopath has no remorse or feeling towards what he's doing or other people, no empathy, while a sociopath does have feelings and some empathy for himself and what he's doing and other people. Hikikomori are unable to leave their own houses. If they have the need to go buy some food, they will just go to the shop and come back, or go where they must go and just come back with no interaction with strangers and other people. No interaction, no eye contact, and a lot of fear to be outside in the world. Sociopaths and psychopaths, meanwhile, have the intention to do something, have this will. They are dragged by a strong will to leave their house and do these things. So people were really quick to classify hikikomori as sociopaths, really dangerous people, while it was not really like that. It was way more complex than that. In 2015, there was a survey that took in consideration the range within 15 years old and 39 years old, and found out 541,000 cases of potential hikikomori within that range. But then in 2018, 3 years later after this first survey, there was a first ever official one from the cabinet office, and the range was within 40 and 64 years old. 613,000 cases were found out of hikikomori, people that were living alone in their houses or apartments, in their rooms, or that are also maintained by families. The percentage was really interesting. 76.6% within 40 and 64 years old were men, while 46.7% admitted they have lived like that, isolated like that, for more than 7 years. And 34.1% admitted that they are maintained by parents or families. Because for hikikomori, it's so hard to have human interaction and also live their own safe space, their own houses, it's also hard, if not impossible, to get on a normal working lifestyle and on a normal social path. Since hikikomori include a wide range of people and characteristics, the only thing that is common within them is a common sense of failure and shame at all ages. That's the only point in common they have. Of course, after that first ever survey and the incredible number of hikikomori that resulted, the Tokyo metropolitan government decided also to change his approach. Before, at the beginning, hikikomori was considered a juvenile delinquents matter. But now, after, of course, the 2018 first ever survey and the incredible numbers of hikikomori resulted, the Tokyo metropolitan government decided to move the jurisdiction and the support system under Health and Welfare Ministry. Of course, the TV promotes a dangerous image of hikikomori, but the truth is that these are all misinterpretations. They are uneasy to leave their apartments to do something dangerous from others. They just want to live isolated. Now, I want to remember you another really notorious case because it was made worldwide famous. This was happening in 2019, and I'm sure everyone heard of that. It's the story of this man who killed 17 schoolgirls and 2 adults at a bus stop near Tokyo in 2019. He was considered by the media a hikikomori, and since then hikikomori were more scared to get out into the world because everyone was having those images and these references. Few months later, there was another really scandalous case. A 76-year-old former politician stabbed his 44-year-old son to death. He was basically living with them, and he had this idea and suspicion and fear that the son physically abused the mother, so he stabbed him to death. Hikikomori is a notorious case, but still is a taboo in Japan. The reason why it's a taboo is because mental illness is still hard to acknowledge in the Japanese society. And also, the families prefer to protract this state rather than seek mental health care. The reason why is pretty simple. They are ashamed of this to happen, so they prefer to just hide under the carpet everything. Thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for seeing my videos and subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate that. And if you liked this video, just subscribe to my channel for more content. Next video is gonna be about black companies, but I will try to make something also about the healthcare, the mental healthcare problems, and what are the taboos here in Japan. Thank you so much for watching me. I hope you liked it. Bye.